episode 2 of 3 of Cancer Survivor. This time, fighting cancer the first 5 years. Please note that today's show discusses a topic that can be sensitive. Last episode, we spoke with Malea Anderson about when she received the news of her stage 4 cancer and all that accompanies the beginning of this kind of journey. She is back on this episode to tell us about the next step of that fight, the first 5 years after receiving the news, battling with cancer, trying to fight for herself, and helping others in their own journey. If you know someone who's had this diagnosis, or you've had this kind of diagnosis yourself, this episode could be for you. Stay with us, and we'll be back after this. Welcome aboard the podcast, A Woman's Spark with Shanik, a place to show women how powerful they are and remind them of the spark that they carry, the strength that gets us up every time we fall, a place to feel seen and understood when we don't fully have what it takes to get back up on a hard day. This podcast is to help women heal and become the best version of themselves during the roller coaster of life. We're building a community, or even better, a sorority of women that wants to help one another and inspire each other to become stronger and more united, as we were born to be. Today, we're back with Malea Anderson on this new episode to talk about the next stage of her journey. She told us about having stage 4 cancer and receiving the news. Don't miss also the next episode, the 3 of 3. Malea is going to come back and talk about yet another phase of her journey. This woman is clearly a warrior and simply an inspiration. On my end, someone close to me was affected by cancer. My maternal grandmother, who also helped raise me. She was told she only had 48 hours to live with a generalized cancer back in 2006. She ended up living over 3 months at home with the care of myself and her children. It was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. It was an honor to help her through this final stage of her life. Here are some quick facts about people fighting with cancer. Breast cancer is obviously the most common cancer amongst women, but early detection and advancements in treatment have led to significant improvement in survival rates. Many women also face other cancers like cervical, uterine, ovarian, each with its own challenges and research efforts. Facing cancer can significantly impact a woman's life, affecting not only her physical health, but also her mental well-being, relationships, and daily routines. On today's episode, we're just going to have Malea, our beautiful, sparkling woman, back on the podcast. She's a fighter, as you've heard before, a warrior. She's someone whose mission is to help other women through this similar kind of journey. She's the founder of www.cancerandmiracles.com, and she's passionate about nutrition, and she's a mother of 2 girls. Stay tuned to find out more about Malea Anderson after this short break. Malea back to A Woman's Spark podcast with Shanik. Today on the podcast, we're going to be welcoming a guest you've already been introduced to, Mrs. Malea Anderson. On our last podcast, she was here to talk about getting the diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. And today she's here to talk about the first 5 years of her battle. As mentioned earlier, she's a fighter and a warrior. Please welcome back our Spark of the Day, Malea Anderson. Hi, Malea.
Hi, thanks so much for having me back.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I mean, there's so many stages to the journey that you went through, but that most cancer fighters go through, that it's so important to see all those steps and give hope to the people who are going through that journey. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, of course.
So you're here today to talk about the first 5 years. So we've already broached the subject of getting the diagnosis and the very start of it. Can you tell us the first 5 years of your battle with cancer? What did you do? What thought process did you go through? What battles did you go through? The floor is yours.
Awesome. Yeah, it was also overwhelming at first, because things just kept snowballing. And every time it seemed like I got news from my doctor, it just sort of got worse and worse. And then, you know, I think everybody's relatively aware that cancer treatments are not pleasant. And, but unless you've sort of been in that situation, I don't know that you really think about how unpleasant they are and how much you wish there was some alternative ways to do it besides just the chemo, the radiation, and the surgery. Those are the only things offered to us in a conventional oncology setting. Those are the only three options that you have, really. I mean, there's oral medications and things like that too, but those tend to fall under the chemo category. Um, so it's a lot to digest. It's a lot to digest to think about what they're asking you to do, and feels very limiting. It feels very like the options just don't sound really that great, but it is what it is. And I was already very health conscious, health minded, always opted for a more natural way of doing things. And my mind kept telling me that that was the direction I wanted to go with this. Watched a few documentaries at the beginning, just trying to learn as much as I could. Um, and to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't really want to go through the conventional treatments. I thought that there was a better way to do it, but I was also too scared not to. I also knew that my life was very much on the line. And
Of course. I
as we
mean,
spoke,
like you said in the first episode, you're really into nutrition and you're a health coach
Mhm.
before all this happened. So obviously you wanted to go a healthier route, right? And
Yeah,
there
that
is
was
a lot more information out there about a possible healthier route. So I'm guessing that's where you wanted to maybe guide yourself towards.
yes, and I was doing a ton of research on that. I immediately knew straight away, like day one, diet is going to be really important. That I needed to follow an alkaline diet. Your cancer can't survive in an alkaline environment, so right away I just knew that my focus needed to be on getting myself as alkaline as possible. I
Okay.
started that right away, literally too soon. I would actually say too soon.
If you don't mind
Right.
me just backtracking a little bit, what is alkaline diet for people who
Well,
are listening?
so our Western diet tends to lean very acidic.
Okay.
Processed foods are all acidic, and cancer thrives in an acidic environment, and alkaline is the opposite of that. So we want to create a more alkaline environment, and an alkaline diet is actually, I knew I needed to do that, but I honestly didn't know too much about it. I just got online and Googled alkaline diet, and I found a chart of foods that were alkaline, and I said, "Great, I'm just going to only eat those things."
Is
In
it is it
hindsight, it
vi
wasn't it
is it
wasn't
a
a great
viable
strategy.
option
It
for
it
long-term purposes?
um, it's challenging, that's for sure,
Okay.
and I did that. I dove into that just in the midst of being so overwhelmed and so confused and still going through the grief process, and I just decided, okay, now I'm only gonna eat these foods, not having grocery shopped for those foods or anything like that. And so, of course, for a couple days, in addition to the grief and confusion and all this stuff, I was actually starving, like, and my
I
friend
mean,
came over and
I saw some pictures on your website where it's like broccoli sprouts and
yeah.
various types of sprouts, and I mean, they are good, and I'm sure they are great for killing cancer, but I mean, you gotta eat a lot of those to
Yeah, not
fill your
exactly
stomach.
filling. Yeah, exactly. So, I really just started diving in headfirst. Diet was the first change that I made, um, and I was just trying to educate myself, but I was getting myself really confused, and I really wanted to go a natural route, but also it's very, very scary, especially once I learned that I was in a stage 4 situation. Um, I was trying to navigate it, and one night I spoke to my husband about it, and I was like, "Listen, I know you're kind of trying to let me lead the show here and all the things, but I need some help. I need help figuring out what to do. Should I take a go at this the natural way, or should I, you know, go in with conventional?" And he's not someone who shares his opinion very he wanted it was my thing and he wanted me to
Y
make those choices, but
yeah.
finally he that was the only time in this process that I really saw him break down. He's told me since then he was doing it just in private. But I really only saw him break down, and he basically just said, "Listen, I need you to do all the things. The girls and I need you, and I don't want you to leave any stone unturned. I want you to do everything that you can." And that was like, okay, great. I'm so glad I pushed him to give me that opinion, because yes, that's what we're going to do. I said I said in that conversation, I don't ever want to look back and say that I should have done more. Because if I get to a point where I have to say that, it will be too late
Mhm.
to go back and try it again a different way. So we made that decision together, which I'm so, so grateful for, which was to do everything my doctor was telling me and also do a ton of research and add as many natural healing
As
modalities,
possible.
components,
Yeah.
things that I could possibly do. And I think that was really an empowering decision to make. The only thing I said was, I said to him in that conversation, I said, the only downside is that if I do all the things, we'll never know what was the magic bullet. And he
Yeah.
said, do we care? If you're alive, do
No,
we
we
really
just
care
want
what
the
did
magic
it?
bullet.
Yeah. So that was the strategy from then on. And as I mentioned, I really dove in heavy with diet. I researched lots of different anti-cancer foods. You mentioned the broccoli sprouts. That's a huge one. There was one point actually where I was making a smoothie every morning, and I would honestly toss in basically anything that I had ever heard was an anti-cancer food into this one
Okay.
smoothie. And at one point I think I counted, and it might have had like 19 different ingredients, add-ins and things.
19, perfect. I mean,
And it tasted like dirt. I
dirt.
mean, it was horrible. I really don't recommend it.
Comes from the planet. It can't be bad.
It really was
It
horrible,
may
but
not taste good, but
I gagged it down every day, even on the way to chemo, and, there are some ingredients in that smoothie that I can no longer eat to this day because it's
yeah,
just
too
it was a
much.
lot. But, I was willing to go there.
To try anything. Malia, put yourself back in those it's hard. It's long and hard, but it's those 5 years. Okay, so Malia, throughout those 5 years, there were ups, there were downs, and ups and downs and ups and downs that kept
Yes.
repeating themselves. It's basically a vicious circle or Groundhog Day, maybe.
Well, actually, you know what? Actually isn't how it went. The beginning was down, and then down more, and then down more, and then down more. Like, it kept getting worse and worse and worse.
For how long?
Um, Maybe like a month or so. That whole portion, those early weeks are a bit of a blur, to me, because it was just so much to digest and wrap my head around, and to grieve and to worry and all of those things. But I have, um stop me if I said this story on the last time we spoke, but I don't think I did. I had a girlfriend over, and right after I found out it was stage 4, and she said, you know, listen, do what you want with this. Do it, don't do it. But I'm just gonna throw it out there. She said, you haven't put this out there publicly. You haven't shared it on social media. And at that point, I wasn't sure if I was going to or not. And she said, you've got a lot of people. You have a big network. And she said, this was, like I said, when she found out it was stage 4, she said, at this point, I think you can use all the prayers, all the support, all the everything that you can possibly get, to know that you have a lot of people rooting for you and in your corner. She said, I think that would be really impactful, and I think it would be helpful. And so I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I wasn't sure. And then at one point I thought, she's right. I mean, I I can
You're not
use
losing anything from and you may
more.
have something to gain, right?
Yeah. So I did put it out there, and I was just so unbelievably overwhelmed and humbled by the response that I got. It was it was wild. It was a
What did
I
you do?
got
You started your website? What is it
no,
exactly
no,
that you
no.
you put out
I
there?
actually put together a really sort of detailed post on Facebook, which was my primary social media at the time. And as I mentioned on our last episode, I was a fitness professional, and my job was to travel around the country, training other instructors, and um, a- in addition to working at quite a few gyms in my local area, I just had a lot of people who were I was connected with on social media, Facebook at the time, and it was wild. I mean, I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments on that post, and I just sat there and I read every single one, and I cried. Every single one made me cry, every single one, and I felt so incredibly supported and loved, and it was almost overwhelming. So I just sat there for a day crying, reading all of those comments, and the next morning I woke up and I just felt this real sense of clarity and calm and peace. And it was the first time I'd felt that since the diagnosis, and it was the first day I didn't wake up, in tears and with the whole thing just hitting me over again. And I walked out into my backyard and it was a beautiful day. And I felt the sun hitting me. And it almost felt like I was surrounded by a white light. And it was like I could feel all of those people. I felt surrounded by support. I felt it. I don't know how else to explain it, but like kind of like a God moment. I just felt very supported and loved. And I actually sort of audibly heard in that moment, this isn't the end of your journey. It's just the beginning.
Wow.
And it was so clear. And all of a sudden, because I had kind of posted about it and I saw how many people were watching and following it, I almost had this clarity that like I was in this position because I could show people that it could be done and that I could be an example of hope and that I wasn't this story wasn't going to have a sad ending. It was going to be a story full of hope and triumph. And I really felt that so strongly in my soul, in my being, that I just from then on, that was it. I didn't shed another tear after that.
Really?
Yeah.
No downs or just no tears? You knew
I
you
mean, there
wanted
were
to go full steam ahead to, like, get yourself better.
both. I mean, I felt all of a sudden like I had the confidence that I could do it, that it wasn't impossible. And there were obviously hard moments because treatment is hard, chemo is hard.
Yeah,
There were moments of feeling sorry for myself, but there wasn't ever a moment of doubt after that. There was
okay.
like I can and will do this. And from then on I really did have a very positive attitude throughout.
Okay.
Even when things were really hard, it was kind of like I knew I would come out the other side. And so I just had to get through it.
And what were the ways for you to when you had a little bit of a down or when you were going through chemo, because those moments are nonetheless a little bit harder on the body, a little bit harder on the mind, how would you get yourself back up?
Um, hmm, that's a great question. I think I was doing a lot of things actually to support my body through that process. And while I definitely would not look back and say chemo was fun or easy, um, I would say it was easier for me than most people because of all the natural things I was doing in conjunction that
Okay.
were actually supporting my body and minimizing the side effects as much as possible. But
Okay.
I definitely still had some down moments, and I definitely still, you know, I didn't love it. It wasn't fun. It was
No.
hard.
No.
But
I think in general what I get from you is that you're a very optimistic person. You're very bubbly, you're headstrong, and you're not gonna let yourself be beaten down by the sickness.
yeah, and
A
I'm a little
and that's
competitive.
beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I'm a little competitive too. Like I've had to learn this about myself now more recently, but I wanted to be the best cancer patient. I want
Oh. Okay.
I wanted to be the one that had the least amount of side effects and that minimal disruption to my life. And like I could still be the mom at all the things and I could still teach all my fitness classes and I can still do all this and I'm not going to take any downtime. And you know, that is can be a personality flaw of mine in some ways, like taking on way too much.
It's not a flaw, but does it catch up with you?
Yeah, it definitely can for sure.
Yeah.
And that's what I guess that's what I mean as far as flaw is that can backfire sometimes.
Well,
But
it
I really did wanna show everybody that it could be done, and
Mhm.
I did continue teaching my fitness classes all throughout chemo, and I did and my classes, not at the beginning, but most knew that I was going through that, and, yeah, I just kinda I f it was empowering to me, I guess that's what it was. It was empowering me to do something about it, not let it be done to me. Like, chemo is done to me,
Mm,
and, radiation surgery, that's done to me. But for me, it's like, well, I can change my diet and I can add additional cancer fighters to my routine. And I can make sure that I'm still exercising and I can make sure that, you know, I'm still doing all of these things. And to me, cancer can take so much from you.
yeah,
And for me, that was like pulling back a little bit of the control and saying, no, you're not cancer. You're not going to decide how this all goes. Like, I'm going to take
yeah.
back some of that responsibility.
As adults, we have 2 choices. We can either decide if the sickness is happening to us, or we're just gonna take it headstrong because no one else is gonna come to save us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you either have to take the route where the victim, where things
Mhm.
are happening to you and it's hard and it's difficult, and yes, it is, it takes nothing away from how hard and difficult it is. I really sympathize for anyone who's going through
Yes.
a journey like that. Well, I sympathize. I have not lived it, but I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
Mhm.
But then you come and you just wanna battle it, and that's no one's gonna come and save you, so I think that that's the bare minimum you can do for yourself. As a
Yeah.
human being, a whole, a person who's no one's gonna come and save, you only have yourself to fight for. So at the end of the day, I think that it's a minimum that you can do for yourself. In
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I said, it's empowering to take back a little bit of that. Because in at the beginning, cancer feels so daunting, and it is so daunting. It doesn't feel daunting. It is daunting. Um, and it takes so much. It shakes your confidence. It shakes, it gives you so much fear and anxiety and worry and all of those things. It can start to feel your life can start to feel really out of control. And then
Yeah.
the treatments are starting and everything is happening really quickly. And I just think it is really empowering to say, okay, here's my situation and it's a terrible situation, but what can I actually do
Mhm.
for myself to take a little bit back from it? It
Exactly.
tries to take so much stuff away from you. So,
Before we take a break, there's still an angle towards that I wanted to broach is that yes, it's good to stand up, and yes, we only have ourselves to fight for, but isn't it also okay to feel the emotions, feel the
oh, yeah,
heaviness, and feel it's okay to victimize yourself for a little moment here and live it,
absolutely.
and maybe give yourself a little time limit, but just to live it because it's a grief you have to go through.
That was
It's a
a
process you
really
have to go through.
hard lesson that I had to learn because I am such a doer and I am such a, I don't like to be the victim. I don't like to let a circumstance, take from me like that. So when I was still in the midst of all the grief and the fear and all that foggy few weeks, I was really harsh on myself about it because I knew better. I knew I had to take control. I knew I had to find that warrior. I knew I had to say, okay, no, like this is not going to go down like that. I'm going to, I'm going to pick myself up and get ready for battle. And it took me a while to get there.
Mhm.
And I was really harsh on myself about it because I was like, come on, get it together.
Yeah,
But in
but
hindsight, I just realized you have to let yourself go through it. It's a grieving.
absolutely. Plus, you were saying earlier, whilst we were offline, you have to go on a 6 months checkup. Every
Mhm.
6 months, you have to go for a checkup. So for 5 years, you have to go for a checkup every 6 months. So it's how is that?
Yeah, we
There's the ups, but there's the down that you have to
there
go
are the
through the
downs.
test, and you may get a negative answer that you're gonna have to grieve and then move on.
Yeah, it's tough. When you get through it to a point, you feel like you're sort of on the other side. You realize though that you can't ever go back to the before, the you that you were beforehand, because
Yeah.
you're different. You're completely changed. And then there is that sort of anxiety and fear that even if you found a way to quiet it down, still lives in the back of your head. And things like
Absolutely.
scans and checkups really bring it to the forefront for sure. So it's an ongoing battle, definitely.
Thank you, Malea. We're gonna take a little short break. We're gonna come back, and I wanna see a little bit of the positive that came out of your, well, you're a very positive person, and we have broached all the positive things you've said, but and you've experienced. But we're gonna come back and talk a little bit about the positive and constructive that you've done in those 5 years right after this. Welcome back to the Woman Spark podcast with Shanik. We're here with Malea Anderson. She's received a diagnosis of breast cancer only a few months after turning 40. On the previous episode, she's told us about receiving the diagnosis and from the beginning of her journey. And now we've been broaching the subject of the first 5 years. So, welcome back, Malea.
Thank you.
So, I would like you to tell me what kind of positive came out in those 5 years. Was there like a moment or something majorly positive that came out in those first 5 years?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the beginning was rough, bad news after bad news after bad news. But once I once I found my warrior and decided to fight it head on with all the things, I was doing so many natural things and as well as going through chemo. The chemo was not fun, but I ended up kind of framing it in my head to look forward to it because each treatment got me one step closer to when I was able to get another scan and check to see how it was
Ah,
working. And I had convinced my doctor had told me I needed to do 6 rounds of chemo. And I promise he loves me, but I don't ever take anything that he says at face. Like everything is a negotiation. He'll tell me six.
okay.
I'll say, how about four? And so anyway, I was still convinced I could maybe weasel out of two of them and just be done at four. So I convinced him that after 4 rounds of chemo that we could do a scan and then decide. And he's also very good at playing the negotiation game. So he actually usually wins, even though he makes me think that I'm going to win, but then I don't. Um,
I like that. Some hope.
so after the 4 rounds of chemo, um, which was about 3 months, a little over, I went in to get my first scan since my diagnosis. So it was only 4 of 6 rounds in, and I went to get the results, and he was just shaking his head, but with a smile on his face, and I couldn't quite read what that was about. And he said, I don't know how to tell you this, but you have no evidence of disease.
Oh, ooh, wow.
Yes.
How?
I mean, I it all I can say is that it had to have been a combination of what he was doing.
Nutrition,
Yeah, the
all
conventional
those earthy
medication,
smoothies.
all those smoothies and all the other stuff I was doing, and, maybe a miracle as well. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but I could not have been more ecstatic. I had been looking forward to that scan. I wasn't even nervous going into it because I just had such a good feeling about it, but I didn't even know to hope for that. Like, that was even beyond my expectation.
Can visualization, mental toughness,
Mhm.
and like all this positivity towards the behavior you had towards cancer be a portion of
I
that?
absolutely think so, and I was trying actually everything. I was meditating. I was listening to certain sound frequencies. I was eating all the healthy things. I was taking all the healthy supplements. I was doing everything, and I do think that mindset and positivity, and thinking about it in a positive way and reframing negatives into positives is a huge, huge portion of it. I really do think that,
Of course.
that your perspective and how you choose
That's
to
so
look at
how
it.
did you feel when you got that, like, you have no signs of illness in you right now?
Yeah.
I mean, oh, guide me through that.
It was just incredible. I mean, it was truly incredible. It was such a moment to celebrate because I had been working really, really hard, although it was a fairly short time frame, only 3 months in, to go from stage 4 to, we call it NED, no evidence of disease. That's the cancer lingo
Okay.
for it. To go from stage 4 to NED in 3 months is relatively unheard of. So it was just incredible. And my doctor was as shocked as I was. Um,
What what did she's a female, right, your doctor?
no, male.
A male,
Yeah.
okay, so what was his next comment? I mean, it's something, like you said, almost probably unheard of.
Yeah, it
W
was. And I love my doctor. My mom was with me at this appointment, and she immediately was like, "Well, don't you want to hear about all the extra things that she's been doing?" And my doctor was kind of like,
Why not? I love your mom. I love that she's pushing to say, here are some solutions for your next patients here."
"Yeah, yeah." I actually, that was the appointment where I learned that these are two very separate things and they really don't cross paths at all. He didn't really want to
No.
know. And so I just kind of said, okay, well, I'm going to let him think he did all that because
Okay.
I want him to be in my corner. And obviously, together it all created some sort of magic. So I was I was just ecstatic, and I was able to do a little live video because I had so many people following my journey on
Mhm.
Facebook at the time, and I did a little live where I got to share that news, and it was just so amazing. And you mentioned all the ups and downs, and I would say that obviously chemo and surgery and all of that stuff were definitely some downs in the process.
Mhm.
But overall, from that moment on, got that amazing piece of news, and then it just kept getting better and better. Honestly, there weren't a lot of
Real
downs after that. There was mostly ups for 5
okay.
years,
For
you
fun.
know?
So you're saying I'm just trying to wrap my head around this because at 3 months, you get the news that NED,
Mhm.
right? But then 5 years in, when did it come back? And I don't wanna go into the negative too much, but still, we're
Yeah,
talking about the first 5 years of your
yeah.
treatment and your battle, so is
Well,
it me or did it come back?
for 5 years, it was amazing. I was getting checked every 3 months. Um, with blood work, I was getting scanned every 6 months. Of course, what you battle is what I sort of mentioned. I've always kind of called it like a dragon that sleeps in the back
Okay.
of your head.
Yeah.
I sort of wondered once I got through that original 6 rounds of chemo. By the way, he did not let me off the hook for the last 2 rounds, even though I had that
Oh,
great
you
news.
still had to do them,
I still
okay.
had to do all that. That was when he played those Jedi mind tricks because I had thought
Ok
I said, okay, great. So no more of this, right? And he said, well, I mean, consider it like an insurance policy.
just to be sure.
Yeah. So I kind of lost my train of thought, but
We were talking about that we're in the 5 years,
Hmm.
right? The first 5 years. So did
Yeah.
it come back? Did you get a bad news at some point or
Yes. Well, all
okay.
throughout the 5 years, I explained it sort of like a dragon, where for the most part, I'm able to go about my normal life.
Yeah.
But there is this sleeping dragon that lives back in the back of your head, and you try real hard not to wake him up. Like
Just
um,
on your tippy toes, walking
exactly.
very silently.
And he definitely gets restless around any blood tests and scans and all this kind of stuff. So mostly during the 5 years, everything was very, very positive, except for those times where I'd have to really think about it. I did always kind of wonder, like, when do I get to go back to my carefree pre-cancer self? And I did have to realize that she
Mm,
was gone, like, she
yeah,
didn't exist anymore, and there was a little bit of grieving that, I don't get to be that person anymore. I don't ever get to not worry about this anymore. It's just now something I have
a
to worry
part of
about
you.
from here on out, and that was tough to digest.
It
But,
is. I just had a conversation with another guest that we're gonna have after your episodes, and her name is Samantha Chris. She's a speaker, and she really elaborates on the liminal space. It's that space where you're in between. You're no longer who you were, and you're becoming the new
yes.
person. Ooh, gotta read on that. Liminal space.
Yeah,
And it's exactly what you're talking
I'm gonna
about.
have
It's
to
like
look that up.
you wanna go back to that woman you were before the news. She's never gonna come back.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
So, it's like managing to this new version of you.
And
This
figuring out how to get back some of that, but understand that some of it is just gone forever,
Yeah,
and then figuring out how
grieving.
to I like to reframe things in a positive way, so to take the positives out of that and figure that out, there's a bit of a challenge there, but overall, it was a really positive journey, and as I was approaching in the cancer world, you really look forward to the 5-year mark because,
Okay.
I was told that my
Why?
cancer was considered incurable, um, that that they were going to try and treat me for longevity, but not necessarily for cure.
Mhm.
And that didn't sit well with me. Like I said, I'm a doer. I don't take no for an answer. So it's like, wait, watch me. So because I had so much success, those 5 years were exciting. I was so excited to get to that 5-year mark, and I couldn't wait to go see my doctor. And then, to be able to say, I am cured, like this isn't going to come back. And really looked forward to that. But life can be a little cruel sometimes. So I did go. I really thoroughly enjoyed those 5 years. I do feel like some of the positives that came out, losing my old self, that was tough. But some of the positives that came out is that I really did appreciate life so much more. I really did
Yes.
appreciate the little things and the big things and the moments with my kids and the travels. And, I do think that I found a greater appreciation for life in general. I think I had a good appreciation for it before, but it was definitely magnified after.
Hitting magnified, I like the
Hmm.
word, yeah, I was gonna say amplified, but magnified all the same, right?
Yeah.
So, the smaller things become even more significant and
Hmm.
meaningful,
Yeah.
like the birds chirping and the sunlight, the blue sky, and the walks on probably on the beach for you in
Yeah.
California.
Definitely.
So
So I ended up going to that 5-year doctor's appointment,
yep.
and I went in there and I met with my doctor and I said, "So, we're right at 5 years." And he said, "That's so awesome." And we did a little happy dance, we shared a hug, and it was great. But that was also one of just my regular screening days where I had blood work done just to keep checking everything, which I'll always have to do. And that the irony that it was that visit, that 5-year visit, amongst all the 3-month visits that I had done over 5 years, many, many, many visits. The irony that it was that one still kinda stings, actually.
Yeah.
But I got the blood work done that day, and a couple days later, I got a phone call from my doctor's office. And I actually didn't think anything of it when I first saw the number because I thought they sometimes call me after these visits to verify insurance things or whatever. So I answered it, and I heard his voice on the other end, which was very surprising. He never calls me. And I immediately, my knee jerk, it still hadn't processed why, but the first words out of my mouth were, "I don't like you calling me."
Oh my I'm sorry, that's a big yeah. I can I can understand why.
Yeah, and I was right to think that because he said, "Well," and immediately heart dropped into my stomach. And he said, "Well, your tumor markers are really elevated. And I need you to go back to the lab today and have it redrawn so we can make sure see if the results are the same.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was really tough. Really, really tough.
We're definitely gonna broach that subject in the next episode, but I really want to thank you for your positivity and giving a little bit of hope to the listeners. Um, Before we go, how do you want to make your mark in this lifetime through this journey?
You know, it's exactly what you just said. It's by giving hope. It's by sharing hope.
Uh-huh.
Um, I we're having this conversation and I'm 7 years in from a
Mhm.
stage 4 diagnosis. So I think that, that alone, I hope, gives people hope. I mean, it is terrible. It's terribly frightening when they tell you you have stage 4 cancer, and it's terribly frightening when they tell you it's not considered curable.
I mean, what are the stats of a stage 4 cancer?
That's a great question. I should have looked that up.
We'll have it for the next episode. But it's rarely 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
So you know what? Just your presence today is hope and is positivity. And I think that that can transpire to the listeners that it is possible, and just a little bit of positive magic. If you sprinkle that into your life, I think that that can really make a change. And having a positive attitude and a strong mental toughness, even if it's not possible every day,
Yeah.
but then that mental toughness, if you're able to have a positive one, that can take you a long way. If a
I I
very long way.
I definitely think that having a positive outlook and an "I can do this" attitude
Mhm.
is really the difference. I think obviously everything else contributed, the conventional treatments, the natural holistic treatment, but it's the attitude more than anything else. Because if I had just said, "Well, this isn't curable, um, I guess I'll just make it as long as I
I'll
can."
make do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we
I
said
don't
at the
don't
beginning,
yeah, I
you
don't
only
think
have
the
yourself
outcome.
to you only have yourself to fight for, so
Yeah,
you
I
can't
don't
make
think
do.
the outcome would have been the same, honestly. I really do think that, and it's not easy. I'm not gonna tell any listener that it's easy to get into that headspace, because it's not, but I think it's important, and I think it's worth really trying to push through and find a way to get there.
Mhm. Thank you, Malea, for sharing this part of your journey. And if anyone's listening right now and you want to know more about her recipes, the nutrition, her tricks, her tips, you can go on her website. There's first of all, there's the Instagram, Cancer and Miracles, and you're going to find a lot of information there. And do you want to give us the website where we could find you, Emilia?
Yeah, should be fairly easy because I'm the same everywhere. My website is Cancer and Miracles. My Facebook, Cancer and Miracles. My TikTok, Cancer and Miracles. So,
There you go. We can't repeat it enough. It's good because then people will remember. And go over there, go get all the information that you need for either yourself or anyone you know that's going through a journey like that. To all you fighters and warriors out there, get inspired by Malia's story and keep the focus on the fact that you are important and you are a fighter and you are a warrior too. So keep fighting because you need to do that for yourself. You're worth it.
yes, absolutely.
This is it for us for today. We'll see you next on the next podcast with the final episode with Malia about the 5-year mark, the second diagnosis, and where she is today, because we're 7 years in and there's more to say about your journey. Thank you very much for sharing with us, Malia.
Thanks for having
If
me.
you want to get involved with the Be Guided, Be Inspired community and you want to share what kind of impact you've had on others, or you just want to share your experience that you're currently going through, come and meet with us on the platform at www.beguidedbeinspired.com. Write us and we'll connect. Let's change the world of women one conversation at a time. Thank you for listening. Keep sparkling, you beautiful women. See you next time. Have a nice day. Bye.